in the middle of these fights, but we've got another Crystal Aegis.
And there we have the Crystal Aegis popping. Everyone is healthy for Team Freedom, and with righteous fury, they are chasing down the members of Beyond the Gate. Pursue and engage is the call, and they're certainly doing so. Tracer goes down as well. Verdin has already fallen.
Oh, they're coming in for the flank. They're coming in for the flank. I don't know if Poison Spear is back up yet, but they got their eyes set on Rhaegar, who knows he's all but dead here. Molly also in a very bad spot. That's going to be 3 members down. Make it 4 here momentarily as Tyr and Lucio finish the job. The Ancestral is going to land. Ice Block is going to be there for the moment. Now they're in a bad spot. Brightwing's going down. Stage Dive is going to come in just to try and buy some time. The Face Melt as well, but they're looking for the re-engage. Nazmus just barely dodges that Verdin, and this boss is still pushing. Grubby, we've got Siege Giants behind it. Right now, that is another member down. TTG making plays.
Infinity jumping in there with the kill. Twilight Archon is the next victim here. Zeratul Cure gets pummeled here, and Bully Datesky goes down. Beyond the Game, have they done it? Are they defeating the favorite here in the second map after a very chaotic game? Team Freedom falling to chaos.
Cure goes in!
But Cure with the kill!
Cure goes in, he's looking for more. 365 is getting so very low. We're down to 50+%. They are still on the core. The Siege Giants doing damage. They are all in 30% and falling.
20%!
Molly's going down. Cure making the plays, and just like that, 5,
Verdin!
4, they did it! Rest of the team coming in to try and soak up some of that damage. The cleanse over onto the one lone member into that mosh pit. Now, see
Collusion
going in deep.
Nice sound barrier, nice off-the-wall sound wave as well. Here with the second one on account of that sound barrier. Okay, on account of that talent, off the wall, 2 kills, 3 kills. Sided strike on Sonya, sound barrier's good. Emerald Wind, even better. Cure, isolated away, no level 20 yet. He stays alive by the skin of his teeth. Ego cannot accept this. Injustice goes in. 4-man mosh pit.
We've got a 4-man mosh. We've got a power slide over. That's going to be 2 members down. Zungrug and team starting to clean up. That is 3. Let's make it 4. You know what, Grubby? I think we might have all 5 here. Ego in all kinds of trouble. Dwarf tosses away. And just like that, Team Freedom will march through.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
The gust hits in, they go into the back line. Is it the kill? It is! This is Kalfas! They take down the Eve, they take down everybody! Fnatic has finally done it! They win the tournament!
Fnatic is going to be your mid-season Brawl champion!
Hello, my name is Dob Engström, aka Quacknix. On Team Fnatic, we have Wooby.
My name is Jonathan Gunnarsson, aka Wobby.
He's our melee flex player, who usually plays second warrior, and he's also the shy guy. He usually doesn't say anything. And we also have Breeze.
My name is Pontus Sjögren, aka Breeze.
Who is our main warrior. He's also the youngest one, so he got all the shit. Like, you just have to sit there and take it. And then we have Smexy, who is our support player.
My name is Filip Lilleström, aka SMX.
How do you say, like, hunk? Is that a word? Like, Smexy is the hunk. The one who gets all the girls. And we also have Shrimpy.
My name is Simon Svensson, aka Shrimpy.
He plays a lot of second range and specialists. Just straight up plays everything in the game.
I'm single, by the way.
And then we have me, Quacknix. I'm the captain of Fnatic and also the drafter and shot caller. I just tend to fool around a lot and just make sure we are having a good time and have a nice atmosphere. Although not when we're practicing. 100% serious. It's important. Why are you laughing at me?
I don't think he's gonna like me a lot for showing you these pictures. Pontus was born into video gaming. When the kids were small, me and my husband, we used to play World of Warcraft. We could play all night, and we put the kids in one room. So we took the other bedrooms and just played.
For me, it worked to become a pro player because I decided for it. Like, I just put away the rest of my life pretty much to pursue a dream. I even decided to quit my school for it and, you know, just take a huge risk in my life, you know?
I got home from work one day, and he said, "Okay, Mom, I have to quit school. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to Poland." "No, you're not," I said. "Yep, I have to, because I'm gonna be the best player in the world."
Coming in as a rookie now is very difficult. Like, you have to be very, very talented, and you have to put in a lot of time.
I know it's been a dream of his for a long, long time. So I just said yes. When we left him at the train station, I think I cried every night for several weeks. It was really hard. And he was 16. He was so little, my baby. I think it was 4, maybe 5 months. And then the gaming house was no more, and he came home. And that's when they got this group of guys playing instead. And since then, he's been home. If we can't go, we watch on the TV, every match. And our neighbors come and we sit there and watch him play. We don't miss a thing.
It means a lot to me. Like, it differs from other players who their parents are like telling them they're not even allowed to play. They're not allowed to travel to other tournaments and all this. So I'm lucky.
Could you guys imagine what you would do if you were not in esports? Flipping burgers.
I would be flipping burgers, McDonald's. Yeah.
Would you go back to school?
Yeah, I would study.
Would you go
I think
study after this?
I would finish studying, yeah.
Now that you have this lifestyle, you wouldn't want to go back to anything else. All my friends, like they have normal jobs and then they party on the weekends. I don't want that life. I want this life.
We're up here now.
Yeah.
Anything that's gonna happen after?
Yeah, downhill. Like, my parents were a bit upset because I obviously, like, I skipped out on a lot of classes in school, and I just went to internet cafe and played a lot of video games. And then all of a sudden these guys had an organization.
At some point, we just wanted a 5-man Swedish roster, so I don't know, we all got together and made this team.
And then just ever since, we have just been like climbing together, and here we are.
In November, it's been 2 years.
No, for you 3, yeah.
For us 3, actually.
We 3 have been together a bit longer.
Yeah, so maybe 1.5.
The full team, 1.5 maybe.
So when Quacknix and Smexy joined the team, I was pretty much the captain when they joined. But then after some time, you know, Quacknix, he ended up being the shot caller. He's the most talkative person, like, he's really social. So, like, after some time, it just ended up him being the captain, you know, by nature, I guess.
Gotta take control.
Cut the tape.
Okay. My greatest, like, asset to the team would be my game sense, my game knowledge. I mean, that's what I'm famous for. Like, that's my thing. I just learn super quick, and like understanding what would be the optimal way to play something out. In every game I've played, I've become really good, really fast. My dad still thinks that like, I could probably go pro in tennis, even though I haven't played for so long. I've basically played tennis my entire life. I was competing a lot at a young age. I probably practiced up to 6 hours a week, which is not a lot when you compare it to esports. I got bored. I didn't feel motivated, so I eventually stopped. Like, I started playing less and less, and then I eventually just stopped. During this time, I was playing video games all the time, and it just, like, as tennis became less and less, the computer became more and more. And then I got the opportunity to join Fnatic, and from there on, my life has been amazing. Both my parents have been super supportive with me going into esports. They're supporting me all the way, and nowadays, my dad watches every single game. He still doesn't understand anything, but he just comes up to me and he's like, just gives me the thumbs up. That was a nice play from Dignitas. I don't necessarily play any tennis anymore, but I play something that is called paddle tennis, which is a kind of similar sport, but it's in a smaller court and you're surrounded by glass walls. But it's much faster and it's so much more action, so it's just more intense and more fun.
Alpha.
I have a girlfriend.
Real challenge about this job in general is to try to keep up with your social life, because it's something you obviously miss out a lot on, because you have to make sacrifices.
But you get to hang out with these wonderful, wonderful boys, so in the end, it doesn't matter. It's just straight up worth it.
This is what I want to do. I just want to play and compete. So it's the dream life for me. Even if I have to sacrifice things, I think it's definitely worth it.
So now going into Blizzcon, we're obviously super pumped. We want to win the whole tournament, and it is a possibility for sure. But we have to be careful. I feel like a lot of teams have grown stronger.
This is what you're looking forward to the entire year. So yeah, there's a lot of nerves. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of feelings for Blizzcon, definitely. This is the real world championship, and the team that wins this tournament is the best team, you know? Our goal is just to win. If we don't win, we're gonna be disappointed.
If we go in there, we get our meta, and we just play our game, we should have a really good shot of winning the whole thing.
I was once a far strider. I swore an oath to defend Silvermoon and its people to my dying breath. It was not enough. My homeland still burned. But those days are long past. And history will not repeat itself. I am Sylvanas Windrunner, Queen of the Forsaken. And if you will not serve me in this life, then you will do so in the next.
In his youth, Genji Shimada lived a carefree and self-indulgent life. But when Genji refused to join his older brother Hanzo in running their clan's vast criminal empire, he was mercilessly cut down and left for dead. Bound by Overwatch and given a new cybernetic body, Genji struggled with his dual nature until the Omnic monk Zenyatta taught him to find inner peace. Now in the Nexus, Genji uses his elite ninja skills to fight for what's right. Genji is an opportunistic, mobile assassin who can tear apart a weak backline. Genji's trait, Cyber Agility, allows him to quickly traverse the battleground. When activated, Genji leaps into the air and lands at his targeted location, jumping over any impassable terrain in his path. His first ability, Shuriken, launches a fan of 3 ninja stars in the targeted direction. This ability can store up to 3 charges, and its cooldown refreshes all 3 charges at once. Deflect is Genji's primary method of self-defense. When activated, he briefly gains the Protected status, preventing all damage to himself and dealing damage to his nearest enemy whenever he is attacked, prioritizing heroes. Swift Strike serves as both a damage and mobility tool. Genji dashes forward a set distance, damaging all enemies in his path. If an enemy hero dies soon after being hit by Swift Strike, its cooldown is reset. Genji's first heroic ability, Dragon Blade, works similarly to how it does in Overwatch. When activated, he draws his sword and gains a powerful melee attack for a brief window of time. While Dragon Blade is active, hitting Q or R causes him to lunge forward and swing his sword in a wide arc, damaging all enemies he hits. X Strike offers Genji a more front-loaded heroic option in terms of damage. He leaps into the air and carves 2 giant slashes into the ground, damaging all enemies they hit. He then delivers a third and final attack as he lands, dealing heavy damage to all enemies in the targeted area. Genji is at his best when using his considerable mobility and deadly ninja skills to burst down vulnerable opponents. Cyber Agility doubles as both an engage and an escape. Talents that enhance his trait grant additional options for outmaneuvering the enemy team. Even Genji's basic attacks boast impressive mobility. After starting a basic attack, he can move while the attack finishes, allowing him to poke at his enemies while dancing in and out of their attack range. Shuriken can deal a large amount of damage if all 3 hit the same target, making it deadly at close range. Use Shuriken to scout bushes and fog and interrupt opponents who are channeling objectives. Deflect works best against heroes with rapid attacks like Tracer or Li Ming's Disintegrate. Minions and structures can also trigger Deflect's counterattacks, making it a powerful offensive tool when diving into enemy fortifications. Use Swift Strike to finish off enemies with low health so that its cooldown is reset. Swift Strike always travels a set distance. It can land you in a tough situation if you're not careful. When fighting against Genji, use stuns and silences to interrupt Deflect and prevent him from escaping. Dragon Blade is particularly strong against isolated enemies. Split lane pushers like Gazlo, Zagara, or Asmodan are prime targets when activating Dragon Blade. The ability lasts for some time, so it can be used for clearing waves if all nearby heroes have been cut down before it ends. X-Strike offers Genji a powerful burst damage option. Because he is invulnerable while using X-Strike, activating it when multiple enemies are attacking you can help you avoid the damage and quickly turn the tide of battle. The final explosion deals more damage than the first 2 slashes, so make sure it connects. Genji is an augmented cyborg ninja whose agility and skill make him an exceptionally lethal threat.
We came to this world as exiles and outcasts. But together, we can be more. A weapon to break the chains of oppression. A bastion for the hunted and the lost. A family bound by blood and honor. And if our enemies do not give us peace, we will give them war! Victory or death! This I pledge as your war chief. Until the end of days, I live and die. For the Horde!
Hello and welcome back to the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. We're 2 series in on Group B here at the group stage of the HGC Finals 2017. Up next, our winners match. We've got Fnatic from EU going up against Team Freedom from North America. It's going to be a good one. One of these 2 teams will secure a spot in the bright lights of the Blizzcon stage at Anaheim Convention Center next weekend following this match. All right, let's head over to Kylaris and the analyst desk to get their thoughts.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I've rebranded it the Archivist's Corner for this match, as of course we've been cataloguing all the games that have been going on so far. Joining me to my left-hand side, we have Grubby, we have Dread, and we have Gillyweed. And I want to say, Grubby, I know with your extensive Hero League prowess, I know that after you casting that game, you know, there's many times in Hero League where you just can't stop people going 3 support. Everyone wants to play support, so that must have been a very normal situation for you.
Oh yeah, it's so bothersome when first pick, second pick, third pick, everyone is like, let me play support.
Right.
I know you like damage, go ahead. So yeah, it's a cliche at this point.
Brilliant stuff. But overall, guys, what did you think of that last series? It was quite the blinder.
It was quite the blinder, and ultimately, you know, I am thankful, you know, that Team Freedom, being a North American representative, was able to display a little bit of, you know, kind of prowess there against BTG, but I did feel like I expected a bit more kind of out of them so far, and so I am a little bit scared now knowing that they're up against Fnatic.
What I love for Team Freedom and that we saw is their drafting was a lot different than what we saw out of Tempo Storm. And we did get an inclination that all of the North American teams were going to bring in their own metas. But to me, it looked like Team Freedom was playing more of a Korean-style strategies with a lot of Tyrael play. Zugrug's ETC was excellent. They had Brightwing. They were just pulling out a lot different of a meta from North America. And I'm excited to see how far that goes.
Let's check in with the bracket to see exactly how things have gone on so far in Group B, as well as what's to come. As you can see, a 2-0 and a 2-1 means that Darksided and Beyond the Game now find themselves down in the lower bracket. But moving on, of course, our next match coming up will be Team Fnatic going up against Team Freedom to figure out who goes to BlizzCon, Grubby. This is a good match.
Yeah, Fnatic as the victor of the last 2 tournaments, of course, Mid-Season Brawl, Western Clash 2. They could not play Eastern Clash on account of being part of the Western, but they are a big favorite here. Are they the #1 favorite? That we do not know anymore. We've seen MVP Black play at this point, but they are certainly one of the teams to beat. So that's a big challenge for Team Freedom.
It is a huge challenge for Team Freedom, but if there is going to be one thing that can put them over the edge, is the drafting adjustments that you highlighted before. It is so needed for North America to be successful at an international stage, is to kind of stop running what they know, what they've been doing within their own region. And it does feel like at the Western Clash, it seemed like Freedom waited till they lost a series before they were willing to innovate and accept maybe their meta was maybe not that dominant. But here, right out the gates, willing to adjust, bringing out things like the Tyrael. I mean, it is just really awesome to see. It's just, can it keep up against a team as dominant as Fnatic?
You know what I just realized, standing here as you're talking about it? They didn't boot camp with the rest, with Korea or with Europe. So where the heck did those changes come from? Team Freedom in North America is known as one of the stalest of teams when it comes to switching up their meta. But we do know that in the most recent part, they switched to having cure drafting so that they felt like they could be more reactive. They felt like they responded too late at the Western Clash. So it's been great to see that this newer team is making the necessary adjustments.
If you had to theorize, do you think that they're a team that could adapt as quickly just being here? Or do you think that it would take a little bit more time?
Before I would have said no, because they are so new. Guys, this is a team that went from the Crucible, like nearly in the Crucible. They're in 6th place in Phase 1, to now all of a sudden being here, one of the top teams in North America. And part of that was bringing in Cure. He was this all-star that they brought in, won Heroes of the Dorm. But back to your question, I'm not sure if they have what it takes to adjust, but now I'm starting to think maybe they could.
And one thing that I also want to highlight on that climb that they have made through North America is been collusion. When bringing on Cure, having him swap from the front line to learn the support role, he has become a world-class support here. Maybe not the best in the world, but he has learned a role and dominated within his region, and it's been very, very impressive to make that kind of transition. Role swapping, I feel like, is one of the hardest things to be able to do, and to be able to play both of those roles at this level has been insane.
Yeah, I mean, look at one of the recent events where he played. He was basically a Malfurion one trick. Heal people, walk forward, do his Twilight Dream, and kind of get results off the back of that. And he has progressed far beyond that. So it is really impressive.
They've said that a top 4 would make a statement here when we've previously spoken to them.
It would.
If they are going to do that, surely they need to have a very good showing, if not a victory, against the likes of someone like Fnatic.
Keep in mind as well that the #1 seed in the group is probably very valuable. You're likely going to be going up against the best team of another group when you end up in the 2nd place of the group. So getting that 1st seed in a single elimination bracket of Blizzcon is of very big importance. If you want to make top 4, you got to win that 1st round.
Gives you an easier road. Let's focus on Fnatic now as the current reigning world champions, Dread.
I mean, you said it best. You know, they are just dominant. They have won the most recent international tournaments with the Western Clash and mid-season brawl. We talked a little bit about maybe is there kind of a form of hesitation earlier in series #1 out of this group of players, but ultimately I think this is going to be a really solid gauge on, you know, the strength of North America in general, if these even look competitive, or ultimately if Fnatic just turns on the switch that it seems like they always have in their back pocket. Just we're ready to win.
One thing to keep in mind for Fnatic as well is that they made it through Darksided not showing anything, and I do mean anything, guys. The drafting that they were bringing in, the kind of heroes they were drafting, were supremely old comforts of Fnatic. Things like Schwimpy's Li Ming, the Kharazim for Smexy. He has not played Kharazim since the Western Clash.
Right.
They are pulling out all of the stops, trying to do these things that allow them not to show anything, not even fighting Darksided until Darksided is forced to take a fight that is just not good for them in any way, but it's the only fight they could take.
And one of the challenges that Fnatic talked about going into this tournament is, slight paraphrase, but it's kind of, can they wake up in time? Here you are, 2 times tournament winner, and you're going into BlizzCon, a very important tournament, but will that fire be present in each of the members of Team Fnatic yet? This is something that Quacknix talked about. So they breezed past Darksided. Now Team Freedom, arguably one of the biggest early challenges for them. Will they feel that fire? Because if they are even just a bit asleep, Team Freedom will make it very difficult for them.
2 teams that you can support overall here in the HGC is, of course, Fnatic and Team Freedom, and you can check in as well to see how the cheers are going so far. The HGC universe keeps cheering and cheering out there, as we do have 25 million, 26 million! Oh, we did it! We did it, team! That was weird.
That was a close one.
And we're slowly edging towards our Deadly Chaos Lizard. I mean, my Deadly Chaos Lizard. I made this very apparent yesterday. It's all for me, guys. But anyway, let's focus on what is to come here as we figure out what Battleground we're going to be going to for the start of this best of 3. Fnatic will pick Sky Temple.
Now, again, this is one of the best battlegrounds here for Team Freedom. It's their top 2 win rate battlegrounds, the 2nd one behind Infernal Shrines, but it's a pretty darn good map for Fnatic as well.
Yeah, I would say both of them their best maps. The kind of control of the battleground that we saw from Fnatic on Cursed Hollow versus Darksided is going to continue here, unless Team Freedom can get out there and be aggressive early. Teams like Dignitas, teams like Expert throughout Part 2 have learned that to keep up with Fnatic and the kind of macro pressure they put on, you have to be aggressive earlier on. Freedom was showing some of that, especially on Battlefield of Eternity, almost treating it like one of the Chinese teams like CE when they played Battlefield yesterday. So I'm hoping we are going to see more of that early aggression.
All right, time for game #1, Draft 1, and the winner of this best of 3 advances to BlizzCon. Let's get it done, Dread.
Yeah, and I just want to say that on the note of the aggression, that this is one of the places that Team Freedom started their climb through North America, was on a map like Sky Temple, focusing on those team fights. We originally looked at them as a team that didn't even know how to play the macro game, so much so that they maybe needed to depend on this style of map. So even though it is very much Fnatic's choice, and both of these teams are great at the map, I feel like it is a good start here for Team Freedom.
The Morales first banning continues from Team Freedom. They did this twice in a row in the first ban against their previous opponent beyond the game, and Fnatic also continues to keep banning Tassadar in first spot.
No Task Tracer available to Team Freedom. They showed a lot of focus on being able to get that duo, that combo. That is one of the Korean influences that I had noted. We saw that a lot from MVP Black yesterday too, and even from some of the Chinese teams.
We saw in the series before that was synergized with things like that Tyrael that is very much out of the interest that they had throughout all of phase #2, part 2. So I immediately am looking towards, do we see that same initiation, dive-oriented team focus for Team Freedom?
Ooh.
All right, so Fnatic, they do pretty well with Genji. 13-0 in the second phase of HGC with Genji. They're bringing out their weapons, and that shows that they are taking this match, how could they not, very seriously indeed.
Yeah, they are statistical monsters with Genji, and I'm looking to, of course, Schwimpy and the way he plays Genji. Schwimpy is the top KDA in the European region, 3rd in the world with his Genji, including the Western Clash. It's even 17-0, and then 5.3 kills with it. He is terrifying. That is a terrifying pick, to be sure.
And Genji, he doesn't really see that much play anymore, and you know, he's having trouble with this meta, double warrior, double support. Can you really find an angle? Can you really get a kill? He's a great finisher, but not the very best sustained damage dealer. But then, let's just wait till we see Fnatic.
I am happy to see Team Freedom lock in that Tyrael there again in that rotation, showing the same kind of direction in the first series here. But the Vala adjustment compared to the Sonya with the high Genji there, I didn't think the Brightwing would be a large enough of deterrent to not move into that, because we saw Sonya busted out by Expert as a response to Genji being released, and that Poison Spear stopping the deflect. So ultimately here, I am immediately going, is the direction here for Team Freedom going to be a bit more into that just hyper carry Vala backline, and is that going to be successful against such an amazing Genji performer on the side of Fnatic?
Well, generally, when you have that hyper carry, you still need some sort of melee to be able to offset the damage with. Well, likely we're still going to see a secondary support, but that kind of depends where things go from here. Maybe another Lucio for Team Freedom in Collusion. Up next is the ban for Fnatic, and they will take away that Sonya, especially with the amount of damage that the Poison Spear can do to a Genji after he's using Deflect.
I just didn't think there was any way that ended up making it through and that part of the draft.
For sure.
I don't think it's like irrecoverable by any means. It's just I want to see the justification for the Vala. Obviously, you see the Ariel already, but Vala seems a bit tier 2 in terms of the battery factor. You know, looking at the modern day meta, way back she was at the very much the forefront here. So I'm just skeptical here and looking for the argument on Freedom.
Yeah, I mean, in the single support meta, multi-shot build gets a lot of sustained damage on multiple members of the team, which can be challenging to heal. But now in the double support meta, you need to kill someone fast when support cooldowns are unavailable. Hungering Arrow is generally the go-to, and that doesn't generate quite as much energy for Ariel. Sonya is now gone. Lucio is a very likely pickup by Team Freedom later, using that 6-second long-lasting sound barrier to deal with the 8-second long-lasting Dragon Blade.
Murden here for Fnatic. Is it going to be a Karzim possibly if they go into the double support to follow up?
They haven't yet.
Okay.
I almost wonder if they're going to try to go all the way through. If eventually they adjust to double support based on the boot camping results that they had, if they're going to try to make it all the way through before they ever actually show what double supporting style that they like, or at least until Freedom makes them sweat a little bit.
I mean, to be honest, now that you say that, I completely agree. Like, it doesn't make sense. I am immediately going, Fnatic, would you like to innovate when you expect to be the better team? But, but automatically, when I see Murden in this meta, I do feel like the synergy between those is so powerful. I'm like, you gotta go for that lock-in onto the Karzi.
It'd be interesting to see if they do sweat even during this game, because Ariel was of such priority to Team Freedom in the previous series that BTG then in games 2 and 3 banned it right after it being first pick before, so that's a very heavy comfort there for Freedom that could work well.
Yeah, I mean, Freedom prioritizes it so highly every time.
Yeah.
You can only imagine if Team Freedom wins this, maybe Fnatic switches. So far, it's full Tassadar ban for them in that first pick. But I'm looking at Fnatic's final pick. I think it has to be an assassin. Genji double support, double warrior has some trouble getting some kills. And you're against a lot of layers of protection here. Lucio, as expected, comes out. Malthael, good pick here against double warrior. And who is Fnatic going to take? Will it be Li Ning?
Is the Malthael a fantastic pick, considering on the other side, there's not too much protection against the potential that a Malthael could put out?
I would definitely say it's one of the better Malthael selection points for all of North America in this tournament so far.
You don't like the first pick Malthaels?
It's not the consistency in which we had seen it before. This does feel like it's a bit more calculated. I do feel like I hesitate again with the Sonya conundrum we were talking about with that Vala, but having the Lucio and Tyrael to enable his mobility and Vala to chase those people down, be the executioner. It's an old school composition here. Not surprising to see Freedom go to it. I just feel like against, again, amazing team like Fnatic here, do you want to be cookie cutter composition? Also, it's game number 1, so maybe Freedom just wants to test the water, see if they can actually go toe to toe with Fnatic here.
False Start comes out.
Gosh.
Smart pick. A little bit more boss control. Emerald Wind and Mighty Gust. Freedom already had a lot. Holy Ground, Lucio's Sound Wave, and yeah, pretty much that.
There are two things that I want Freedom to take caution of as we get into this draft. The first off, this is a new Tyrael team. They did not play Tyrael during Part 2. They may not be aware, and Zagrug may not be aware of how effectively other warriors control Sanctification. He has to be on point. He has to be watching out for things like Stormbolt and Polymorph, or else they may, if they're relying on that to get a lot out of Tormented Souls, find themselves getting that put on the 10-second cooldown and enough to blow up the fight. And they have to make sure that they're comboing Sound Barrier and Sanctification because it was a little bit too close together. You and I were talking about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, is we cannot see that kind of, stacking of heroics. It worked out against BTG because of the map and because I would argue the caliber of play on the side of BTG. Fnatic will look at you, exploit it, and just go, you can't get away with that kind of stuff here.
100% agree.
All right, well, looking at what we're seeing here from Fnatic, is there enough damage there? The full stat, you were thinking that that was a fantastic choice, Gilly, towards the end.
That is Fnatic not showing anything new, which is what we hypothesized.
Right.
This is a triple global composition from Fnatic. They are going to try to just run rampant across the Battleground as they did versus Darksided. It is on Team Freedom to force something upon them and force those team fights. But again, we do know that that is a thing that Team Freedom has historically liked to do.
All right, well, I hear that our casters are ready to get into our next match here. So, of course, the winner of this best of 3 goes on to Blizzcon. Let's find out as we have Fnatic go up against Team Freedom.
Our first look at Europe taking on North America. What a great way to start here, Caldor.
Yeah, especially since we are on Sky Temple, and already we heard the analysts talk about the composition that Fnatic plays, and it's very reminiscent of what Fnatic played at the mid-season brawl against Dignitas on Sky Temple, especially in the final match of the Grand Final. So I'm pretty hyped to see what exactly they can do here now against the North American team.
And it's a composition that they run very well. Double Global has been a mainstay for Fnatic for the entire year, it feels like. So let's go ahead and move into game number 1 of this best of 3 series. The winner of this match will be heading towards BlizzCon next week in Anaheim. So let's go ahead and move into it, Galdor.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Sky Temple is going to be our first map. It is definitely a staple for Fnatic to play here, and they are going to do their best to make sure that they get the lead against the North American team here. But Freedom, they have shown great matches at the West End Clash, and they've also, of course, won their earlier series, so let's see what they can do here today.
This is actually a very important match here for Team Freedom. They spoke about how they want to break into the top 4 in this tournament. Now, how are they going to handle Fnatic, one of the best in the tournament? Here on the left side, Zagrug will be playing Tyrael, Dansky on Vala, Nazmus on Ariel, Collusion playing Lucio, and last but not least, Cure on Malthael.
And to the right side of the map here on Sky Temple, it's the Swedish boy band with Breeze on Muradin. We're seeing Quacknix on the ranged on the bird. He's playing false set. Shrimpy on Genji, of course. Wooby on the Haka for the offlane. And Smexy on Right Wing.
And what a difficult task it will be here for Team Freedom to try to deliver a loss to Genji here. Fnatic has ran many Genjis in the past. Quacknix and Swimpy both excel on the hero. With that 100% win rate, pretty hard task to go against here, and I want to see if Team Freedom can even handle the pressure. So far, they got to deal with the turret pushing in the top left corner as Fnatic grabs early experience.
And in the meantime, Freedom is of course going to try and mirror that in the mid lane, starting to pressure it in quite heavily. Here you can see once again reflected what Kim has been talking about just a second ago. 100% win ratio on Genji for Shrimpy. This guy is a beast on the hero. He in general excels on heroes that give him resets, since he always knows the perfect moment to jump in, start to get the resets through kills, and just carries the momentum to drop the entire opponent's team.
Part of it is he just understands how to squeeze out the most juice out of the hero there with the Genji. 13.3 KD ratio is actually pretty darn insane compared to many players here in the HGC. Now, looking at the game so far, a little bit typical play from our two teams. Double Global team go to the top, they grab a turret, they spread out as needed. I'm sorry, Triple Global. Team Freedom, at the same time, they've grouped up here with that Vala, keeping supports nearby. You want to stay near that Vala. She'll be the one that tries to trade out, get some turrets, and also allow for a fight to break up if Fnatic tries to engage.
And of course, one of the really important things about engaging into Team Freedom for Fnatic is they need quick and decisive actions in those fights. They need to drop a target as fast as possible, since in sustained fights and poke battles, Team Freedom will always have the upper hand thanks to them running Oriel and Lucio. So the longer the fight lasts, the better for Team Freedom. Fnatic is going to try and make very quick decisions within a fight, make quick rotations with the globals to get these kills. And there's exactly that attempt of a play. Not working out for them right now, but the idea was already there. Moving Brightwing into the battle to make it a number advantage and then drop a target. Didn't quite work out for them, but it's what Fnatic is going to try throughout the early game at least.
And why no one died there was Team Freedom actually ran the train very around the top left side. They had Oriel in a spot where if there was too much aggression from Fnatic, Containment Strike would stop that and potentially put them in a spot where they could get a kill. So Team Freedom backing up well, they're spreading up and then making sure to bring in all 4 members before deciding to engage. At that point, Fnatic, not having quite the power there, had to back away.
Yeah, we talked already a bit about the differences with Fnatic and Team Freedom when it comes to the supports, but of course one of the major advantages for Fnatic is the global presence they have, and they use that on the Haka with Wooby for a long time to soak the extra experience, and Freedom has to react. That opens up opportunities in the middle of the map. Nasmas is low and gets taken down as we have Quatnix jumping in and dropping Oriel.
Fnatic having the first kill of the game here, going to be able to grab the rest of the temple in the middle, and of course, apply some pressure on the side. Team Freedom instantly runs with bottom left, and knowing that Fnatic is in the middle, and they have used some globals to grab the Giants here, trying to get Merc pressure. One of the best ways to deal with multiple globals that will be coming your way from the opposing team is to put pressure on the map through mercenary camp. Someone will have to clear that up, and that will also give you vision.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this is a really important aspect for them here as well. Also, Freedom is running, for Freedom it's basically also, the composition that they're running is also a bit of a stylistic statement that they're making here, a fashion statement. 4 hoodies on those heroes, that can't be a coincidence. Coincidence? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. We'll see if it pays off for them. A fight in the bottom of the map here as Team Freedom will answer back. Fnatic looking for a kill, not able to get it. But let's go ahead and talk about the state of the game right now. Look at the top left. The fort was taken down earlier. Fnatic is actually pretty darn far ahead in terms of infrastructure and then also experience.
That actually comes down to them pushing in the early game one of the towers immediately. So when it comes to the structures on the map, the structural advantage means that those objectives are going to become way more dangerous to your opponent, and that is something that Fnatic is trying to exploit here. And let's not forget, when we're entering the later stage of the game where all of a sudden all forts are eliminated and we're talking about pressure towards keeps, towards the core, the globals of Fnatic are going to play an even bigger role in the game, and that is something that they are going to try and cater to. So it's going to be really important for Freedom to hold on to as many structures as they possibly can, and also to try and anticipate where Fnatic is going to attempt the next move.
I mean, Caldor, you're talking about the future of the game already, but let's look at it right now. A little bit behind the experience is Team Freedom. The next big goal for Fnatic is to grab that boss at level 10 if they can get there ahead in experience. Team Freedom needs to do everything they can to control the map and also not to miss out on the experience. Right now, they're about a full level ahead and may continue to hurt here if they can't grab experience. Grabbing these turrets on the bottom side is a great step forward.
Yeah, one of the problems that Freedom has is that with the lack of a global, they will either have to leave a hero up at the top lane, mirroring the Haka and Falstead, who are now also both pushing. And this is really important for the Temple game now, because all of a sudden we're having heroes for Fnatic at the top lane that it can push, but also join the team fight at a moment's notice. And that means that Fnatic can turn the bot lane fight into advantage in their favor. But it's actually at the top lane, Malthael, who's in trouble as Quatnix beeline around and try to go for a kill here. Malthael gets out. Cure is still in a bit of an awkward position, since we now have 2 heroes pushing against him with a cam. So Fnatic not making the play for the Temple, but instead trying to get experience in the bot and mid lane while pushing up at the top.
This all comes down to Team Freedom showing their hand a bit early. They put multiple members in the bottom side showing that they wanted this temple. They were doing their best to control the area. So Fnatic put their 2 globals in the top, allowed them to push it for the keep wall, which takes the entire game plan that Team Freedom had and puts it on top of its head. 2 people had to come up to defend, which means boss is now available.
It's absolutely beautiful what just happened here from Fnatic, because you could really tell that once they were close of hitting level 10, they actually just invaded the temple at the bot lane with 2 heroes. And Freedom had to back off, because there was always the threat of Falstead flying down, the Haka going for the burrow, and then a fight there. So all of a sudden, Freedom is losing top lane, they're losing experience in the middle, they lost their final shots on the temple, and Fnatic with the level 10 is also now claiming the boss. So they're winning on every single lane of the map.
Small gains turn out to become a big advantage. Fnatic setting up a trap here on the left side. Not able to grab a drag here as Zugrid playing a little bit too wise, but we still have the boss pushing on the bottom side. Giants being stolen, a fort to be going down. Team Freedom, all they have to do right now is get 10 and then find a way to clear everything that's coming their way.
More often than not, we see Sky Temple banned out against Fnatic in the European scene, and this is exactly why, since they understand this Battleground so well. But Freedom is hitting level 10. And now we're all of a sudden talking about that teamfight potential that we alluded to earlier, especially around Sanctification. So Team Freedom ideally want to force these fights. And with Lucio in their setup, they can always attempt to chase Fnatic down. But of course, we have disengaged tools on Fnatic's side to deal with that. Emerald, Wind, and Mighty Gast are perfect tools for them to make sure that Lucio is not going to get too much value for Team Freedom, and that they can't really force that team fight that they could win.
And I love this here for Team Freedom. They're trying to force a team fight before that 13 does hit. But Mexi, seeing Breeze is in trouble, comes in with the phase shift and drops an Emerald Wind. Fnatic wants to play around their advantages that they've earned from the early game, and they're not going to give anything to Team Freedom if they can stop it.
You could really also tell that Quagnix positioned himself immediately for potential Mighty Gust. He said, hey, if your Emerald Wind doesn't quite cut it here, I'm always having your back with the Mighty Gust, so we can disengage towards the fort. So at this point, 2 forts have been lost for Team Freedom. Fnatic can still hold on to all 3 of theirs, and we have another objective appearing on the map. And you can really tell that Fnatic now is starting to gain an advantage through the experience lead that they worked for earlier. They will hit level 13, and with that talent advantage, they can try and go for the control again. But in the meantime, up at the top, Team Freedom is trying to make a play.
They were looking for a kill there on the Lucio, but the moment that Malthus showed up, they decided not to go for the fight. Nice. Tamer Strike comes out. There's the Rain of Vengeance. Breeze getting low on health. He's getting focused. Can he jump out? No! Murden falls, and Fnatic has their first death of the game as Team Freedom earns that kill.
Really well done by Freedom. Identifying Muradin in that position a little bit too far out, and then of course the Detainment Strike into corner really working out for them here. They get the kill. For another 10 seconds, Fnatic has to play without Muradin, and they are just absolutely willing, at least for now, to give up some of the shots, but the mid lane fight is starting as we have Quagnix flying in again. Dainsky is low, and he is down as Shrimpy is going for it, gets the resets, tries to get the second, takes down Oriel, and with that double kill, Fnatic is once again taking control of the fight.
Fnatic showing that they can count. They saw 2 people head to the bottom lane there to grab the temple, which meant they had a 4v3 in the middle. They went for the fight. Even with the sanctification coming out, Team Freedom missed out on the opportunity to fight back.
Yeah, it was actually really well done here to use the globals, and this is of course the power of having 3 of them. And Shrimpy's just waiting for opportunities to finally teamfight. Now there's the talent advantage, and they're trying to use it again. They want to go for the camp, but at the same time, they're looking for the potential kill. They don't get it, but they're also happy to just simply take the camp away. And Freedom is poking their nose in once again, but it might get bloodied here. Shrimpy actually low, but the deflect is once more ready. Here comes the Gust. Quagnix helping with the disengage, as we still see Dehaka at the bottom temple getting the shots.
Things are starting to get dire here for Team Freedom, and you never want to be in that situation when you're facing off against multiple globals that have the ability to disengage. They are chasing their opponents across the map at a talent disadvantage because they know that they are on a clock right now. With temples constantly coming in, they're already getting damage on their keeps whenever the shots pop in.
Now we're going to, of course, enter now an area in which Team Freedom is once again going to try and force fights. Since they're level 13, we put them on the same talent tier as Fnatic, but they also need to deal with their top lane. We still have the remnants of a night camp starting to push in, and Dehaka is already making his way over as well. So Team Freedom is really in this awkward spot where they're not quite sure where to actually move on the map.
They're trying to shovel all the snow out of the driveway, but still, Fnatic keeps piling it on top of them there. The push in the top here from Dehaka. Team Freedom decides, all right, it's time to make something happen here. They put 4 on the bottom, get the Giants pushing forward, hoping to get a little bit of damage on top of that keep wall, but nothing should really transpire.
But we're coming back to the original point. It is a map in which the objective attacks structures directly. So every single tower, every single gate that you obliterate is going to make objectives way more dangerous towards your opponent. And Fnatic still holds on to a fort at the top lane, so this is going to soak a lot of shots, whereas they themselves already do keep damage. This is a great move, on the other hand, by Freedom. This is exactly what they need to do. They need to find these moments where they can force a fight and get a kill, and they just did that. Now they just need to see, okay, what can we gain from it? Because there's no temple on the map, there's no boss currently, the camps have all been taken. So they are waiting around the boss area to see if they can maybe snack that up before Genji is going to become an issue.
The timing is helpful here. Let's jump on it with all 5 members. Do not forget though, Emerald Wind is available, but not Mighty Gust.
And Fnatic is actually doing a very smart move. They know that this is an option, so instead they move to the top lane with their globals and start to put pressure on the keep. They know they can't prevent the boss from being taken. With a kill against Genji, Freedom has secured that boss, but Fnatic is just saying, you know what, if you take the boss, first of all, we're going to force you to be back, so you can't push with the boss, and we're going to apply some additional pressure onto the keep. We're going to take the fountain down and see what we can do around
But
it.
this was smart. They also set up a flank here. Team Freedom coming on the left, looking for Breeze. Phase shift will be used. That's Brightwing coming down from the boss lane to come in for the fight. Now, Team Freedom needs to make sure they don't get too far ahead of themselves and chase too much, but I like the idea there. They're willing to go for a fight if perhaps Falstead flew away too quickly and Murden was left behind.
I mean, Freedom, of course, knows about the disadvantages of their own composition, and they know what Fnatic is trying to do here. Them trying to get kills against Murden and Genji as they did before is exactly the way to success for them. And having taken the boss is a huge deal, since it will damage structures, it will help them with objective pressure, and also it closes that experience gap slowly and steadily. Fnatic still finds themselves ahead, but this is definitely Freedom's way back into the game.
Last chance here for Team Freedom. 16 about to hit. Fnatic wanting to force the issue while they have a slight advantage. Poke coming in from Quatnix is here. Decides to go ahead and clear out this lane. There it is. 16 for Team Freedom, and they'll move straight to the temple.
Keep at the top lane on the side of Team Freedom is nearly down, so they need to be careful. He has to go for Lucio, and he is dead as Schwimpy goes in once again. Lucio eliminated, and immediately Fnatic is trying to go straight into the fight. Turiel, of course, is going to attempt and drop his sack, but it gets interrupted. Here's Oriel trying to save them, but Vala is down, and so is Oriel. It's a triple kill as Fnatic is trying to chase down Cure. They get the kill, and now only Zokrug is attempting to escape, but Fnatic is already on their way to the top lane to barrel through the keep and potentially go for the core.
Collision just comes in and just slightly oversteps. The Mighty Gust pops out, and then Schwimpy slices and dices and turns North America into minced meat. Fnatic going straight for the core here. Will go ahead and push on through, breaking down the armor already, and now the core, it continues to fall. Team Freedom will have a couple members up here in 10 seconds, but it's looking too late.
Fnatic is jumping in the core. It's down to 20% already as they go in, they go ham, and this is game number 1. Fnatic takes it on Sky Temple and takes lead in the winners match of Group B.
Just a full display there of how strong Fnatic is when they have multiple globals on their team. The shot calling, the small advantages they were able to pile up on top of each other, getting mountains ahead of their opponent. Still got to shout out Team Freedom though. They had some moments where they kept attempting to force a fight, which is what you have to do with that composition. So they identified and understood what the comp did, they just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, Fnatic definitely got what they love to play on this map. They love to play around the globals.
Yeah.
It is their strongest map when it comes to global heroes and just macro play in general. We saw that already mirrored at the mid-season brawl, as we mentioned earlier. But we had some really good picks on the side of Team Freedom, which nearly allowed them to get back into the game. And what I personally really like is the quick decision making, where they, for example, said, hey, we just got a kill, let's grab the boss and play around that. So that's exactly what they need to do if they at any point want to take Fnatic down.
Low kill game between our two teams, but getting ready for game number 2. It should be an exciting one as well as we watch North America take on Europe. Let's go to our analysts and get more information from them.
Thank you guys. Indeed, Sky Temple concludes, but I don't think Fnatic expected that much of a fight. Because overall, I feel like Team Freedom really held their own for a long time there, Dread.
Yeah, I would say that Team Freedom definitely made a lot of good decisions. Early on, I feel like they maybe fell behind in the macro, surprisingly, to a team like Fnatic. But they did a pretty good job in the mid-game of understanding when somebody was caught out, making sure they got the pick, and then just minimizing their losses, making sure they did all the right things to try to come back into the game. It just felt like, ultimately, that last team fight was a little bit too much for them to handle.
Yeah, there was one decision, getting Murden kill and then going down to the bottom, but the globals coming into the mid. Instead, sending back everybody up from Team Freedom cost them both of those temples. That really felt like things went out of control for them at that point. But trying to go out even without 16 and getting a couple of picks, that's what let them hang in that game. It's just that, man, Fnatic in that one fight, they flip the switch and all of a sudden Collusion is gone in the blink of an eye.
It was like rain on your wedding day. A lot of preparations and, oh, they both have level 16. It's already like we're actually going toe-and-toe with Fnatic. And then suddenly Woobies, the Haka, is like, Lucio, you're like 1 inch out of position. It's like 2.5 cm. And dragged tongue and caught him.
I'm glad you did the conversion for everybody out there as well.
Got everyone covered.
Fully appreciated.
No problem.
All right, of course, we're going to go to game number 2 in just a few moments' time. But first, a word from our sponsors.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Almost time for game number 2 here in a few moments as we get prepared and ready. But overall, as I said before the break, Team Freedom put up far more of a fight than even I expected going into that. So going into this next match, I think Fnatic has to really make sure that they're not just kind of feigning anything, not just kind of not underestimating what Team Freedom can bring to the table.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I feel like that I did not expect that kind of level out of Team Freedom, but I do want to kind of highlight that the way that the game kind of played out, ultimately Team Freedom never really brought it to Fnatic. They did some things right where they were looking on mispositioning at certain moments within the map, but ultimately when it came to let's regroup and let us take a team fight, ultimately there was almost no moment that they actually were going even. They did respond to the macro effectively, better than they have to good macro teams in North America, but I for how much they held into it, I feel like it was almost like, you know, a false positive. That number up on top was really not how close they were into that game.
Well, supports are very important in the current meta game, and no more so than over here with Collusion going up against SMX as Team Freedom goes up against Fnatic. So when you look at these two players specifically, what can you kind of bring to the forefront here?
I mean, it's pretty neck and neck here. I mean, Collusion has been playing just wonderfully on Lucio. We don't actually get to see the hero damage, which would have been an interesting stat too. Shouldn't be too important for supports, but yeah, SMX with a glowering recommend.